Alright, got our second motor here. Got the pull starter ripped out of it and it won't retract. Looks like someone's put a new cord in it. Oh, missed one. Got one here. Right, this should come off. The dipstick will come out with them. Dipstick here at the back. Got some this looking like. Weird. To take that out, just bend them tabs back. These tabs here, until you take this out. Alright, got a socket for this. It's got a bolt on the other side. I want to be very careful with these. Don't go break them. I want to go around there and crack them carefully. Seven bolts here. That oil in it's from where I've had it upside down. Got a bit of carbon build up there on here. Already got myself some carb clean. Let's That valve doesn't look like it's seating properly. It looks like it's got crap stopping it. Not too bad, but it is scratched. And the piston looks alright too. What I might do is get a bit of gasket goo. Alright, let's put the head on there. First, just to take the head off and check it. Like, obviously make sure you've got a spare head gasket in case you need one. These up by hand. Now just get the ratchet. Just do them in a crisscross pattern. That's it. Just do them in a crisscross pattern like that. Now we're going to put this fuel tank bracket back on, which it just slides in here. Alright, I'm not going to lie, this fuel tank bracket slides under this bracket. You've got to get it on here. It was very difficult to get that on. If I told you it's crap, you wouldn't believe me. But trust me, it was very awkward getting that on, because it's got to go over these two bolts. That's what was so difficult. Right, I've got this old cover here. I lubed it up and got it to work with WD-40. The bushing inside it's very tight in this one. But I'm going to show you how to put this spring and shit in here though. So you need a pair of get yourself a safety glasses, and I want to show you how to do this in case anyone else has this. Whoops. In case anyone else has this problem and they want to rewind their pull starter. See, that bushing shouldn't be flopping around in there. Like that. No big deal though. Just get that out for a minute. Let's wind up this bit of junk. I'll show you what he's got to do. You've got to get your inside your spring first. Turn it on an angle. And you can see that. Turn the spring on an angle and it locks in there. And all you got to do then, once you've got it locked in, I have to get this spring fixed up. Someone's bent it all up. Shit. So later on its side, put it in. You've got to wind it. It could be very tedious to wind it, but once you get it started, hold it with your hand. See how they bent it all up? I don't know why they've done that. Keep the spring, try and keep pressure on it. That's why I said make sure you got your glasses on. You're not supposed to get your pull starter cord tangled in it though. Just wind it round. Right, and then you roll it over, and you've got that holder in here. What you do is you poke the spring through it and turn this, poke it through, turn it. Whoops. Poke the spring through the holder, and that locks in there. Make sure you keep the pressure on it. And your spring locks in there like that. Once you do that, make sure you keep the pressure on it. Put this piece of junk in here, in the bottom. Whoops, and the spring slipped out of the hole. Bloody thing. Make sure you hold the spring with both hands. This hold here, that's where the spring sits in it. Carefully take your hand off the spring, force it, and roll it into the holder. And what you do is, then, you bend these tabs over, so the thing can't fall back out. Bend that tab over like that. Do the same on the other side. Right, bend the tabs over. You turn it over, and you see that's where the spring locks in there. Right here. Once we take this off, I'll bring this back. Alright, I've made one good good pull starter. They had a tui. I'm going to reinstall this back on. I didn't film all that. I swapped it over and stuffed around with a fair bit. Didn't want to bully. Would have been boring to watch. Someone forgot to put the cover on. We'll leave that on the top of that. I'll put these bolts in here though. Fuel line back on here, so the fuel don't run out, and put the dipstick back in, keep any trash out of the motor. Alright, and put our gas cap back on, and the gas cap off, put that back on there. Oh. That's a good sign. Try and start it. We'll put a bit of carby spray in the carb, some carb clean. problem we've got here. Doesn't want to pull the paws out. Give it a bit more of that. I think the needle and seat might be sticking in it a bit because it's been sitting. Better check the oil too because we've let a bit run out. Got the rag here. Got a little bit of oil in it. Sounds like we've got a carby problem. Got a bit of oil, better go and get some put in it. Just put some cheap motor oil in it for the time being and we'll drain it once we get it going. Alright, I've just added some more oil to it. Let's give her another pull. And we'll also give her another spray. Just from experience, when it runs a little bit like this and it stops, it's normally the float in the carby, because this has been sitting a fair while. I'm suspecting that the carby's going to have to be cleaned. It's pretty normal for this procedure though. It's actually doing the actual shaft that's spinning. It's like on the flywheel, it's not stuck. So I don't know what the story is with that. You can see how they go one way, and when you go to turn it they lock. Well, this one doesn't want to. So either it's maybe it's stuck open a little bit. I'd think, isn't it? And that would be making it work. That's got it. Wants to go again. It's got a pin in it. And what it's doing is, because it's been sitting so long, I don't know how long it's been sitting, but quite some time. Give her another go. Blades are absolutely rooting. Let's see if we can get it going again. definitely need to put that heat shield on it, that's for sure. And that's 2 mowers for 2. This valve here is just to turn your fuel off if you want it in. It's got a little valve there to stop the fuel from going in the garbage. Just wind it out. I'd say the carby's got a bit of gunk in it, and the fuel's old too. But yeah, seem to got it going. So the next step on it will be this shit. There's quite a mess going on in here. We'll have to sort that out. Yeah, we'll have to take the battery. Oh shit! Take the battery tray out of this one, and we'll put it into this one here. What we got going? Obviously, this motor is a complete loss. Good for parts, so that shouldn't be too much stuff in here to do that. And yeah, that'll be the next part. We'll swap the battery tray over and we'll put a battery in it. We'll see if the electric's out and that works. Put the air filter, air cleaner back on, and we'll put a new set of blades on it too, like the one what we just finished. This one's beautiful. We'll start straight up now. That's how we'll get this one on. Yeah, so the next part, battery tray, some blades, wiring. We need to sort the wiring out because it's a mess. Alright, we're going to put this cover back on here properly. Yeah, under this, put the shield on there. It's for the cord. So you want to do that. Right, get that on. Just if you're going to tap that because it's really tight for the fuel tank. Just give her a tap there. Put the spark plug lead back on. And yeah, that pull starter in here, when you pull it, it doesn't want to engage. I'll have to have a look at that too. Looking at that. Let's try and get that out. First of all, we need to turn the ignition if we can. It needs to be off so you can actually get the key out. I don't know if we'll be able to get it out or not. Yep. I don't even think that was the right key. I think that was just jammed in there. What I'll do is I've got another riding key here. We'll see if this one will work. Got a couple other keys here. And all I'm trying to do is match up the key with another key that I can jam in here. Like, I don't know if I can. Looks like that one. Looks like I'll be able to get that to work. think the ignition's damaged in it. This is a padlock key. But the thing is, when it will turn, but it won't turn over to actually go to start it. It's not that loose. Like it needs to turn over one more click. Oh, that's obviously off. Alright, let's try and unbolt this. Right, put that bolt in. Bit empty that rust out. Bin, want to do that? We'll put it in. Alright, I think before we actually go to put the battery tray in, I'm going to take this solenoid out so I'll get to the wiring properly. The main reason we're doing this is because we're going to do some wiring. We need actually make sure the wiring's good. Switch up there. Yeah, this is our wire, what we got. So the red wire gives it power. Here, what you can see, this red one's power, and this grey one is the trigger. So when you go to hit the key and you turn the key to go to start, this is what triggers the solenoid. And the red's the power, and this white one's the charge, and it earths off here. So when this sits under here, it earths off here, so this has got to be touching metal to work. Alright, I've got the bolts undone. This cover should just pull straight off. It should just come off. It was on there a little bit, but that one. Alright, now I've got that off. Sit that out of the way. We need to prise the flywheel from the back of it. We need to hit the top of it here. It does have a couple of bolts in here. It looks like you can put a puller on it. That's what we'll do next. It's a 19. Once I put the clamps in here like this and my bolts, I tighten it up a little bit. I put some pressure on the top of it. Put a tiny little mark, and what I did is I hit the top of this one to add force on it with a hammer. So now I get these out. Which they are in there too. A lot of force on them. These are in the threads probably about that much. I was a bit worried to go much more with it just because of the tension on it. I was sort of a bit concerned that it might. Don't want to break any bolts off or anything in it. Now this thing should come off. Well, it's got a keyway in it. I'll show you that keyway. There's the keyway. Don't lose that. It doesn't look like there's nothing wrong with the stator, in it. Maybe it is the coil. Something marked out here by the looks of it. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it is the coil, not the stator. Oh yeah, well look on the side of it. The coil's short circuit. Ah. Let me get that off and we'll have a look at that. What happened? Well, that was good news. That hasn't wrecked the stator. Make sure you get the right socket for the coil. Don't ever go up and doing these without the right socket. Get me a little mini ratchet. Oh, it's blew the coil out. When I went to start it, oh look, I've had it running, and when I went to start it, it puffed out some smoke at the back here. It shorted out, so maybe this mower's... Let's have a look at this. What happened here? And don't lose any of this stuff either. Now this has been shortening for some reason. As you can see, it's cooked the coil because that's just not. It was shortening. Pull the plug back. So here we've got a bit of a problem. And it's got some solder, like someone soldered something to it sometime. Yeah, see what's going on compared to another one. Alright, took the coil off that one. Now what's going on here? Something must be like a don't know. Alright, well now we know the stage is good. I'm gonna have to be careful not to lose the flywheel key. I'm gonna clean this out quickly because it's absolutely filthy, and when I do that we'll put this flywheel back on and then I'll show you how to set this coil up. Alright, let's put the flywheel back on. Just cleaned it all up, just hosed it. Now I've lined it up, I've got the keyway. Alright, I'll just show you how to get this off the junk motor if you haven't got that tool, which I don't have it. Need a pretty blunt thing. You just come around the side. Just got to hit it on the side here. Once you got that, you just unscrew it. She comes straight off, just like that. All right. And we better grease it up too. I'll grease it up and then we'll just tighten it down and that's it. I'm not going to bullshit how I got this flywheel back in there properly. That you got to get a bigger socket. This one's to get the flywheel all the way down. Put the bigger socket on it. Make sure you line up that hole and hit it with the hammer a couple of times, and that will actually get the flywheel down further. And on that too, boys, I've got a little punch here somewhere. Don't know where I got that punch. Here, I use this punch in there to drive the keyway all the way down. It's got to be flush in there. I use this punch here. You can use anything for it, but just make sure it fits over it properly, because that's just aluminium, that bit of crap. And also, when I use that puller on the top of this keyway here, I've been using this file because it's fucked up the top of it a little bit. It's like it's making it awkward to you got to do that too, because as you know, it's a real disaster. Like, you know, and then I can work this down here properly. It's not really, it's still grabbing a little bit, and I'm just not happy with that. So I'm just going to spend a bit more time and clean it up. Just remember, if you're going to hit it with a socket, don't stuff this thread up in there. Make sure the socket sticks out a mile away from the thread. should be enough to do it. Now the next step is I'm going to do is I'm going to get some grease and put on this, because I ain't going to be putting that back on without no grease. And if you're not sure if the flywheel, when you got the washers on here, this has got 1, 2, 3, 4, you can count 5 threads down on it. That's how you know your flywheel's on there properly. So when you take it off, you got 5 threads. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the one at the washer is 5. And that's how you know the flywheel's in the right spot, because you don't want to be using this to tension it down, if you know what I mean. Oh, that's heaps better. You just screw it back down like that. Let's see if that moves properly though, because this is the main part of it. I've got some spray here too. I don't think that spray is going to weep in there. It's got ball bearings inside. Yeah, it is seeping in. It is seeping in there. Just I'm trying to help you out, anyone that's doing this sort of stuff at home, and you don't want to go paying people, and you know, if you want to fix up stuff like I'm doing and make yourselves an extra few bucks, I'll try and do it up as much as I can possibly by hand first. Then what we'll do is, now I'll get my chisel on the other side and we'll file all this up, so we'll clean all this mess up what I've got. Really, what I was thinking about doing is you could strike this with a piece of wood if you wanted to. I've even got a socket where I can hit it with on the side for you to drive that round. You could probably hit that with a piece of wood or something flat instead of using the chisel. I was thinking about that after I've already used the chisel on it. The chisel over here. And you want to make sure it's on the flat side of it and hold it. Get your hammer. What you made a mess of. I definitely would suggest using wood though, myself. I think the chisel works good. I don't reckon you'd break it. I've got 2 off now in a row. I never broke it. This makes it look a lot more cleaner. Just to clean it up so it looks good. Seems to be pretty strong, righto. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, but I'm just I had a problem with the other one, it wasn't engaging properly. I think that other one's over here. This is the one that wanted to keep on slipping. It doesn't feel right in there either. It feels sort of kind of gritty. This one feels smooth. I've got the coil we took off the other mower. I'll bolt this on and I'll show you how to set this air gap. Coil just bolts on here like this. carefully sit on there. We'll tuck the spark plug lead on it, hook up the earth wire. Once I do that, and I'm going to do the air gap, I'll get a bit of paper and we'll set that. Alright, you just stick your cardboard in there, or a business card, tighten them up. I'm going to go join them up through China. Right, take this out. That's all it was, just a very fine business card type material, and I had it half and half on the magnet. Doesn't rub. Let's see if we can get it started. Alright, so back at the lawnmower, we're going to put in gear. We've got a bad diff. This is how the diff should be. Lock up the wheels like that. That's a good diff. Right, so what we're going to do is, we're going to turn this over, we're going to take this diff out, we're going to take this one out, and pull this diff out, too, and we're going to put that diff out of the other one into this one here. So we're going to, we'll lay it over here, take the rag off it. Need to get the pressure. Just flat right over like this. We need the wheels off the ground. It's just 4 bolts. We've got the linkage and stuff on this side too. We've got to take off. Shit. Alright, just got to unbolt these. Because they're turning. I bet you they're turning. Yep, I'll have to get a spanner, and we'll have to put that on there to fix it. I'm gonna do that. Alright, I've got they're 13mm. I'll just put this on the back of it, undo these 4, and then just got to undo the linkage. There's a couple of bolts here. I'm going to undo too. They look like they're 12mm. Looks like there's 2 of them, and we've got some wires and the brake. And we just got to pop that belt off. There's a lot of crap behind here. tell you. Alright, we got the 2 bolts out of that. Got 2 bolts down here. That's that. Got to unbolt this here too. This just looks like it was a diff stabiliser. Now we need to take this linkage out in the bottom here. I'll get the right tool for that. Alright, so we don't have to take that over. Don't think it's ever been out in a long time. Even the tyres are looking perished. So they've been sitting for a very long time. Well, it looks of it, it's been sitting like, you know, all this shit. They do go like that though in the cold weather. That's why I took this off, like this brake, because if you don't, you have to pull this shit off from the diff. So it's easy just to take it off like I did there. Whoops. Now there's a couple of wires on the diff that we have to get off. But I've just unclipped them like that, and I just pushed them through. Push the rubber grommet out with it like that. Shit, I'm getting oil coming out of here. Alright, we've got the wires through. Probably really need to undo that. And of course it wants to turn with it. Looks like we've got a spacer going on in here. So it's going to have to go back like that. The diff looks like it'll come out apart from the belt, and we're going to take this out. Maybe we just take the grommet off. Pull the wires through that, if they'll fit. Yeah, they're going to fit. Yep. Alright, we just took the grommet off it with something. Might better just pull it back. Pull the whole diff back with it. Just holding on by one bolt. Alright. But still got one linkage, which is right here, which is the gear selector. So we're going to have to Oh yeah, it's got a bowl on it. Maybe just take the pin out. Alright. I think we'll just pull the pin out. Alright, I've got the transmission out of that mower. I'm just about to pull this one out. Got it laying on its side. I won't film that because it's just the same bullshit as this, and it's exactly the same as putting it in, just that if I'm filming it's taking up time and I want to get the job done. And yeah, that's it. Check this out. I'm just about to get the transmission out of this. I noticed the keyway's missing in it. It's angled back, that pulley. So what you do is when you put that on there, I'll still have to change his diff because it's got some stuff around trying to make a keyway for it. But what you do is you put this on here and you tighten these grub screws up, and what this does is this forces it tight, and then you don't have any of that movement in there. Do it up really tight. On both of them. And that takes any of that slop out. Now it's stiff. So I could make a keyway for this, but we'll still change the diff now because the keyway's long gone. It's been alright. I've done the transmission. I've swapped it over. Got to put air in the tyres. Transmission seems to work good. The linkages is all hooked up. That's done. Now this transmission I'm going to have to make a keyway, and I just remembering before that I had a ride on a lawnmower once and had keyways in the wheels, and I made some keyways, and I've got one here what I made, but it looks like it's a little bit thick. I actually made that with a grinder, made two of them there. I made them by hand. What I'll do is I'll make one for this. It's got to be I have to measure the size of it and that. And I'm going to have to try and turn this one back over for the time being, without no rear end in it. I've got to pack up my tools. Just flip it over and just sit it down on its back like this. Sure, cut my tools, and I'm going to leave this one to sit for a little bit before I try and move it because it's been upside down, and by the looks of it the chains are off on the deck too, so I'm going to have to pull the chains back up by hand. And yeah, and when I go to make a keyway, Alright, we know the transmission works and all the gears. So the ignition, what I put in it, it shorted out, and pretty sure it damaged the coil. This coil over here. They put a crack in the ring. Shorted out, so I've got to be very careful what I do, and make sure I find this short. I'm not going to hook up the earth wire on the coil until I'm 100% sure that the solenoid and all that works properly, because it's just going to wreck another coil. I ain't going to be doing that. I can't believe that motor, it didn't even blow any smoke after it had been laying over. Oh yeah, and my pull starter's working. Pull starter's working nice too. And once I've got to make this keyway, I might even do it in the next hour. Make the keyway and get that rear end together, and yeah, we'll put that back in. Then we're going to have to do some wiring, because when I swapped it over for that ignition, that's no good. I think this ignition is stuffed inside it. Might be because it had that bad terminal on it too. And yeah. Alright. I've got a keyway here what I made before. You've got to make it go in here, in that slot. And you grind a little bit off the side of it. Need to do the other side too. Of course, it's hot. So it's got to fit in here, in this groove. Got to fit in that groove like that. And we've got to get this I don't know if you can see that or not. Looks like it's a little bit high. It needs to be taken down a little bit. You see, I want to put the pulley on the wrong way. She's coming out. So what I'll do is, I'll grind some more off the top of it a little bit. What I might do is grind some off this bottom, make it more even. We'll clamp it down with a pair of vice grips. Just like that. Because we know it's the right size and it will go in there, but we don't want the keyway flopping around. So she's a bit hot still. Put her in a bit of that watery, cool her down a little bit. That's very close. See if we can get it on there. Looks like we're getting it over there now. Yep, we've got the keyway started. Right, that's it. That's how you make a keyway. I made these for a wheel and I've just ground that down. That's a nice tight fit too. So we got that fixed. Alright, just grab an Allen key here. Make sure that grub screw's tight. Yep. Right, that's it. Let's put this, I'll show you how to put this diff back in the mower. You have to give me a minute. I'm just going to drag move this other mower. This one here. Just going to move this back out of the way. Like that, and we'll lay this one over. I've got my oil can, yep, over there ready. Right, all I have to do is just pick it up. Right, just lay it straight over like that. Right, I'll grab myself a pair of shoes. These scuffs with my toes hanging out ain't no good. And once I grab my shoes, we'll put it in. Alright, let's put this stiff, what we just fixed the keyway in, on that pulley. That's a nice repair, that one. Right. First of all, we've got to stand the diff up, spin it around. Got to lift it in. Now, I found when I took the other one out, drag this back, is to put the belt on first. Do the belt on the mower, just like this. Got this drive belt on there already. Now, before you go to do anything to stuff around, get your bolt, and we want to aim. I'll try and lift this up. We want to aim to get this top bolt, this diff bolt, in the top. So keep the bolt in the housing, get it light up. top one in. Let's try and get the other one in. Right. Once you've done that, get your bolt, your nut I mean. You want to get a nut started. Right, now you've got one in the top. We want to get these bottom ones in here. This is our next step, so while you can. It's a bloody tight fit, I'll tell you. Bloody brake pad fell off. I'm going to get one of these bottom ones in here started because we've got all the weight in it from the top. Right, we've got one. Just right. Once you do that, get your other nylon nut, put on the back of it. Now, before you go try and do any of them up, we've got to get this other one in. There's one more. Let's see how much out. It's only out of along a little bit, needs to come up a little bit. Put my nut on this other one too if I can. I think I'll worry about that in a minute. I need to get this one in, this bottom one. Almost. That's got it. Right. Put your nut on. Sorry, it's 1/2 inch. There. Right. Once you've done that, move up to the top. Right. Stand up tight. It's tight. It's tight. Right, now we've got one more, this nylon 13mm nut. I've got to try and get it on this back of this bolt in the toppy. Spanner's come off. It's the only tricky one on here. This one here. If you ever have trouble getting bolts in, just stick an Allen key in the thread hole of it, and that's how you can manipulate it if it's because they can be a real prick to get in them. Alright, we need to get out. This is our shift linkage. Can be a bit of a pain in the ass. Because I can't see too. What we'll do is we'll turn the rod up, we'll spin the rod on over, and we'll lay it down the other side. Right, now we've got the rod up the other side, we can pop this linkage back in. I'll get a cotter pin for that. I've got them right here. The reason why it's just easy for me to turn them up and down both ways. This split pin or cotter pin, when you put, that's a little bit too small, that. Alright. I've got that cotter pin in there. What I'll do is I'll put in up that way. I've got to bend it. I'm going to bend that around. I need me bloody pliers. There's me pliers. Alright, just bend that over. Bend it right over too. And just do a half. Alright, I've grabbed myself a seat. Goes on there. Goes on there. Got the bolt. This has got a backing, so this goes here. We're done. Alright, we took this ignition out of the other mower and it's got a short in it. There's something wrong with the ignition inside it, so it's no good that. So we're going to have to put the old ignition back in, and I've just worked it so it works. Still a bit sticky, but so what we'll do is we'll wire it in exactly the same as this. Got my terminals here. Alright, got myself 5 of them. The reason why I'm resorting back to this is I don't want to buy ignition, and this one's original ignition that come out of it, but it was all seized up. But I've got it to work, lubricated it. I don't want to spend any money on another ignition or anything. I want to, and plus I've already cut this cape and hole out, and it makes sense just to lube this up and just wire it back in. It's no big deal, so that's what we're going to do. It's pretty easy to wire it back in. Only thing you've got to be careful of is you don't want to cut the wires short. give them a tug test too, to make sure they're in there properly. We'll just screw these back on. Alright, that's the first one. Now this one here went to the battery. So the next one we'll do is the one next to it, this grey one. They had it rigged up. And they had it rigged. I don't have a wiring diagram or anything either, so. Crimpers. Give it the tug test. Needs to be a bit tight yet. You don't want the wire ripping itself out. This is the earth to kill the coil. So we'll put that on. These cheetah mowers are so old, I can't even find a wiring diagram for them, so you've got to sort of work them out yourself. Like obviously when you buy a ignition, you get a wiring diagram. Like you got to, this is the kill wire. The white wire is the charge wire. The grey wire is the solenoid from the ignition. The red gives it power to the solenoid, and when you turn the key it sends power. It's just a switch. That's how it works. Whoops. thing is, what causes these moles and stuff to have electrical problems is if you get a bad earth, it'll act like it's got a bad solenoid. So you gotta check your earths as well, like, because this brown wire, this is just to shut the coil off. Your red wire is the power. The grey wires is triggered to the solenoid that engages the starter, and the white's the charge wire. And I had this wire here hanging off here, which was apparently supposed to be connected to the battery. They do have symbols on the ignition switch, like they got R and M and N and I. They do have symbols on the back of the ignition switch where these go. The thing is, I don't have the instructions and I don't even know what ignition switch this is, so I'm just going to wire it up how they have it. And go off that they knew what they was doing. This mower, what I found out is that it had a bad diff in it. That's why it was parked up. And how you know the wire, where the wires come from, is all you have to do is when you've cut them off short like this, you just match up the colour. Like they had that wire on there like this. I don't know why they had two wires, and wired it on that, and they hooked this up to the battery. So I'm not 100% sure what they was doing, why they used two wires. So what I'll do is, maybe they just use this, because this here looks like a piece of an extension cord. But what I'll do is I'll go and get a wire, a single wire, and we'll hook this up from this terminal here straight to the battery, and I'll get a battery too while I'm at it. Alright, got some automotive electrical wire in here. I'm just going to put one of these on into it. make sure whenever you use these terminals, give it a tug test, see it's a little bit loose. So I need to tighten that a bit more. Right, that's good. Go around, we're going to tighten all these down properly. Make sure they're all tight. And also make sure none of them are going to be touching each other either. Like, you know what I mean? They're not going to be able to touch. You don't want any of that. Now what we'll do is put the ignition back through. All you do is undo it. And the ignition's got to sit like that because that's how it turns on, so it's got to be, this part here has to be in line. So you just poke it through like that, and I'll just put them on. Now we need to tighten this down. Probably have to go and get a pair of mower grips, because this spanner isn't going to be able to grip this properly. It's going to want to turn, so I'll get a pair of mower grips. That's ignition. Now I've got a alright, before we got the wiring back on there, how it was. Now before we put a battery in here, I'm going to take the cover off this. We're going to take the pull starter back off it. I'm going to run some tests with the battery hooked up, because last time I had that ignition, for some reason it damaged the coil. So we're going to make sure that this wiring under here is alright, because we can't wreck another coil. what wrecked that coil was that bad ignition here. This bad ignition. I wired this up. As you've already seen, I done all the wiring on this. I wired this ignition up exactly the same as the other mower. And for some reason I didn't like that, so it's obviously got a short in here and it damaged the coil. I want to run some tests before I even try and start or anything, just in case it's got a short in that solenoid too, because that's untested too. Like it works. I swapped that solenoid from this ride on in. I took it out of this part, one, the same one I took the ignition from. So I'll take this off and we'll do some testing. It's just, I'm going to do these two bolts here and just these two at the back. Once we do that, we'll run some tests. Right, once you get them two bolts out there, take these two bolts out here, you can just pull this cover off, take the whole dipstick out with you, and keep it upside down, set it out. I've got to make sure I get this coil wire off there. Alright, I made sure I just connected the coil wire first, just so I can't put any power into it. I'll just disconnect the stator too before I do anything, just so I can't burn the stator out, because if it's got an electrical problem it's going to cook it and I won't be able to get the terminals off quick enough. Like so. Yeah, we'll see what it does. It's definitely going to crank. What I'll do is I'll just have the ignition on, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab me multimeter, and I'm going to get an alligator clamp, and I'm going to clamp on this kill wire to make sure that's not getting power into it, because if the power comes from the ignition up around in here and it gives power back to this coil, it's going to burn this out. And I just want to make sure the wiring's good first, because anything could happen here, and if it wrecks the coil I'll be stuffed. And I've got the stator disconnected too. So, because it wrecked the coil, the bloody, how they've wired this ignition up's wrong too. Maybe we take this wire off the ignition and we just run the white wire directly to the battery. That's what we should do. So what I suggest we do to see what's going on here is we'll take the wire off it. Jesus, I was lucky I never took that coil wire off. That would have just burned out that coil already. Again, so we know this is wired up wrong too. And this is how they had it wired up, so obviously not only is the other ignition rooted, but this is wrong too. make sure that wire there doesn't touch nothing too. And what we'll check that. Just like that. Now, I'll connect it back up to the coil. Turn the ignition on. Turn the ignition off. On. No. It's got no power to it. Alright, put the cover back on. I've got the coil wire on. That looks like it'd be loose. It needs tightening up with just a pair of pliers. We haven't got the stator wire on at the moment. What we'll do is we'll try and start it. We know the stator works, and we'll put that on. We need alright. Make sure that's tight too. Let's start it back up. We've got an earthing problem here. We need to disconnect this wire too, unless we hook this up to an earth. Not sure. So we know the ignition's off. We've got the wiring correct. It's starting off the key, no problem. But it won't kill it, so I suggest we have to put an earth wire on that ignition to straight to ground, like I did on the other mower, to shut it off. Now I've got to find out which one's earth, because we don't want to go putting on the backtrack power or anything through it. I'll get the multimeter and I'll run it across here, and we'll see which one's an earth wire, because I could put that a terminal on here and then put it to ground, and that should kill the engine. We don't want to be putting any power to the coil though. So we'll need to connect this up. Could probably never connect that straight to the battery. That earth. It will reach. Let's connect that to the battery. That's what it is. So the wiring's really messed up. Just this up. Whenever you connect these wire, do a tug test on them too. Make sure they're on there properly. Alright, just put that under there, under the positive. Alright, we've got it all hooked up properly. Got that wire on there. Let's give it a test. See if it starts off the key. And if we fixed it. Alright, we'll go to turn the key on. Give it some throttle. Can't see anything. Got some throttle. Go. Start it. That, but want to turn it off. That's it. Want to start it. Got to be careful though, because got to be a bit careful because the ignition's worn a bit. So when you go to that, took the diff from that and put in this one. This one here is good. And the pull starter, that should come right with a bit of use. Just it's been sitting for a fair while. Just needs some use for it. And yeah, it's pretty good. Getting 2 mowers going out of 3. So I've got that one going there. And we've got this one going. And this one's just got a good deck. The wheels are good on it. It's got a bad diff and the motor stuff on it. And the exhauster stuff too. So you can rob the deck off it. Got a good steering wheel on this one. The deck and all the other stuff I haven't seen. With this one, it's missing the bottom one, the rubber one. I'll take that off as well. I'll be able to use a handle. The steering wheel, I'll leave that on there. I like that gold steering wheel. It looks nice. And yeah, that's the ride-on videos. I hope you enjoyed watching them. I was going to explain to you quickly about the wire and how it works. So what we do is this grey wire, not grey wire, this brown wire here goes to your coil. That kills the coil. The grey wire here is your trigger from ignition, and the red wire is the power to give it, and the grey wire engages the solenoid. The black wire here is your earth, and the white wire comes from the back, which is red originally, which is a red wire down there, but it goes into white, and that's your magneto wire on there. And if you have a problem with it earthing out, check these little clips here, because if this is broken or the wires rub through, like you could have a bad earth on the motor, but most of the time the power's going to come back through this from a bad ignition and burn the coil out like happened to me. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching. Please like and subscribe, leave a comment if you want to know anything, and I hope you enjoyed both of these cheetah mole videos. They're made by King Cat.